Some villains are just big brutes, right? They're physical obstacles you just have to punch harder. But then there are others, and these are the ones that are truly terrifying. They're ideas. They're philosophies of despair and control given horrifying tangible form. Today, we're going to deconstruct one of the most frightening of them all, the tyrant Mongol. Okay, so let's just dive right in with this question. What if a villain's greatest weapon wasn't some kind of death ray, but an idea? What if the most effective way to defeat a hero wasn't to destroy their body, but to corrupt their soul? To prove that their entire struggle for a better world is, in the end, completely pointless. This, right here, is the battleground where Mongol operates. So, to truly get a handle on the horror of Mongol, we have to look past the muscle. We need to see him not as just some monster, but as a walking, talking system of oppression. And this slide gives us the perfect way to think about it. The absolute legend, Jack Kirby, had this concept he called machine gods. These were beings who weren't just using technology, they were the technology, the god that is the machine. And this is so crucial for what we're talking about. It's about turning an abstract system into a living legend, a physical being that you actually have to confront. And that right there is the key to understanding Mongol. He isn't just a tyrant who enforces some brutal system. For all intents and purposes, he is that system. He is an entire ideology of control made flesh. Now, this concept of a living system becomes even clearer, and frankly, even scarier, with the modern version of the character. He's known as Mongol Who Is, and as the son of the original, well, he is infinitely more dangerous. And this just illustrates the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got Mongol Who Was, a classic cosmic brawler, total brute force. But on the right, you have Mongol Who Is. He's a strategist, he's a student of history and a master of technology. See, he doesn't just want to beat you, he wants to outthink you and completely dismantle everything you believe in. And how does he pull off this ideological control? Well, he studies his domain, Warworld, inside and out. He uses his technology not just for weapons, but for propaganda, twisting people's minds until they actually believe that slavery is freedom. He even engineers a system that provides the sick, twisted kind of hope within that enslavement, making a real rebellion seem not just impossible, but something you wouldn't even want. Okay, now we get to the core of it, the terrifying engine that drives his entire empire. It's a philosophy, a really nasty one, and it's called stasis. Stasis isn't active evil in the way we usually think about it. There's no passion behind it. It's just a cold, absolute, frozen order. I want you to imagine a society where ambition is literally impossible, not because it's forbidden, but because the very concept of better has just been completely erased. It's the ultimate no to progress, a universe frozen in place. And the feeling of living under stasis, that's called the spirit of gravity. It's that crushing weight on your soul that tells you don't even bother trying. It's a suppressive, immovable system that holds everything down, making sure no free spirit, no new idea can ever take flight. It's the sheer mass of the system itself. So what happens to a person who lives under that weight for too long? You get spiritual coagulation. What a chilling term, right? It's a process where the dynamic, flowing human spirit is literally frozen. It solidifies into this rigid dogma, unable to feel, unable to hope, or to change. It is the death of the soul itself. This quote just makes the horror so visceral. This isn't just about nihilism, about believing in nothing. This is brute annihilation. The life force of people is ground down until it's nothing more than dry, dead powder. That's not just oppression. That's the complete erasure of what it means to be human. So we have this absolutely horrifying philosophy of control. But what makes Mongol so unique is that he doesn't just preach this idea, he is this idea. This slide shows it perfectly. Mongol is the physical materialization of these oppressive rules. He is the physical embodiment of spiritual coagulation itself. It begs the question, how do you punch a philosophy? Well, in this case, the philosophy has a face, and it can punch back. And this, right here, is the absolute core of his horror. Mongol is the great thou shalt not made flesh. Just think about that for a second. Every external rule, every dogma, every single limitation that has ever been put on someone to stop them from growing, from striving, from becoming something more, that's him.
He is the living, breathing embodiment of, no, you can't.
So, if you're the hero, if you're Superman, how do you fight that? This is where Mongul's true genius kicks in. His victory isn't physical, it's philosophical. Mongul's endgame is this terrifying piece of psychological warfare called the Nihilist's Gambit. He doesn't need to kill Superman. No, he just needs to prove that the struggle for meaning is itself meaningless. He wants Superman, this icon of hope, this new Ubermensch, to finally break, to violate his own restraint and use his immense power to become a tyrant, all in the name of creating order. And this comparison just lays out the completely asymmetrical nature of their war. For Mongul to win, all he has to do is make Superman become like him. He just has to prove that the whole struggle for a better way is pointless. But for Superman to win, he has to liberate an entire world without sacrificing his ideals. The stakes really couldn't be any higher. And so he waits. He sits on his throne, completely and utterly confident. He believes that ultimately, any hero, when faced with true chaos and the incredible difficulty of real freedom, will always choose the easy path of control. He is the solidified dogma, the cold, fixed truth, just daring the flowing spirit of hope to try and shatter his petrified foundations. Which really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? How do you actually defeat an idea made flesh? And maybe, more importantly, what does true heroism look like when victory isn't about throwing the final punch, but about having the strength to refuse to become the very monster you're fighting?